Ooh. Yep. What does racing mean to me? I am Marc-Andre Séguin, Director of Apex V2R. I am responsible for the strategic planning for Apex V2R. I am also heavily involved with a lot of projects, such as organizing online sporting events for major brands like Porsche, Red Bull, Chevrolet, and more. Apex V2R was founded to share, introduce, and grow the passion for driving performance. We do track days where they can come and either bring their own cars, we'll put a coach in the car, or if they don't have a performance car, they can rent ours and essentially start making that transition to reality, to drivers that are established, that really want to fine-tune themselves and continue to develop to be the best they can, which we have ongoing coaching programs that we can offer, up to full turnkey options for either simulators or racing. So the most recent event that Apex V2R attended was a WRL race at COTA. F1 goes there every year, so being a huge F1 fan, it was cool to be able to get that opportunity to go. For the journey, which was amazing because I love trucks, it was our first time really spending that much time in our toter and stacker combo.
So is this Apex's first ever official race south of the border?
Yeah, it is. So I've been there before working for other teams, but first time for this race team to go. It's actually going to be my first time for myself racing in the States, so very excited.
Going international.
Whoop, whoop.
So I'm pretty excited about getting all the way down to Texas. It's one state that I've never been to before. I've driven down 81 plenty of times going to race in Florida, places like Daytona and Sebring, but never really been that far west in the southwest of the U.S. Into Texas. It's a great view from up here in the driver's seat, and hoping to see some interesting stuff as we're going through Texas.
The WRL World Racing League is an endurance series in the United States that essentially tries to take amateur drivers and amateur teams and introduces them to the pro level.
I'm David Porcelli.
My name's Curtis Fox.
Nicholas Simmons.
Evan Gobdell.
Eric Coons.
I'm Nicholas Hornbostel.
I've been racing since I was about 10 years old. I started obviously in karting like most of us, and I karted for about 6 or 7 years through the United States and Canada. Had good success, won some big races, won some local championships.
I've done a few races now with Apex. This is actually my fourth. And previously I had done Lucky Dog races in Canada. I did 2 at Calabogie and 1 at Mosport. So this is the first race I'm doing with WRL, and the first race I'm doing outside of Canada.
Started racing after high school around the age of 23. I won a scholarship from the Skip Barber Racing School, and that really set off my open wheel career. I was able to run in Formula 4 and Formula Renault. I ran half seasons in both of those.
I've been racing for about the last 10 years, starting in go-karting and In 2020 Route 1, I started racing cars.
I started racing 3 years ago, and I'm just making my transition into cars from karts right now, and I'm having a blast doing it. I did a lot of sim racing to prepare for this event, a lot with Mark from Apex V2R. He's been a great coach for me, helping me off track and on track. He's been just amazing. I couldn't have been here without him.
So the foundation of V2R is virtual to reality, and it was important for us to have that in our name because it has never rung more true than today. Simulators have just improved drastically in quality. If there was one thing that was good coming out of COVID is when motorsports was at a standstill for a short period and all the pros started to publicly come out and compete. It really captured the public's attention. And I mean, we've been a firm believer for a long time, for over a decade, that the skills transfer from the simulator to reality. And let's face it, the more that you practice a sport, the more time that you put in, the better you will be. If you limit yourself to real track time, for the majority of people, motorsports is already expensive enough that to put in the amount of time that you would need to really own your skills in real life, it's complicated logistic-wise, and it's also ridiculously expensive. Being able to jump on a simulator from home or going to a center or just getting access to one is a lot more feasible. And it's a lot easier to put those hours in that you really need to become that pro athlete. It was, again, important for us to make that link. And we really firmly believe that the more time people will dedicate to practicing, the better they will be, whether that's virtual time or real time. With my racing career, my racing path, all of the tracks that I was doing on the sim that I had done in real life, I had done in real life before, because these tracks didn't exist on the sim when I started. I have traveled North America a lot, and I've been to a lot of racetracks to work with teams, but I never got the chance to drive them. And COTA was the first time that I had to learn the track on the sim first, and then drive it in reality. Driving into COTA was quite the experience. There's 90 cars competing, and seeing the amount of transports there was just very impressive. I was blown away at how well WRL was organized and how seamless everything went. Our cars were doing a race into WRL for the first time, which means they needed to be teched. But even before they got teched, they needed to be dynoed.
We're about to go full send on the dyno. Hopefully we don't send it a little too far, but
everything on our cars was fine, so we didn't have anything to readjust or do, which was great. And again, that came from our earlier preparations and reading the rules to ensure that we met all of their standards. It was that moment where you realize you've really jumped up a level and you really need to bring that A game. For the WRL, we entered 2 of our Scion FRSs. So these cars are a great platform, decent horsepower, nothing crazy, but the handling and braking on these cars is just absolutely phenomenal. We've had them now for 2 to 3 years, and we've been developing as we've been going, but although now they're pretty fine-tuned and we've yielded some really good results.
The FRS is an amazing platform to drive on. I think for new drivers, old drivers, and everybody in between, it's an excellent, fun car to take out to the track. It's not the fastest car out there, but it handles well, and that's all that you can really ask for. And making that slow car go fast is one of the most rewarding things a racing driver can do.
The FRS is such a great platform of a car. When you're driving it, it's just, wherever you point it, it goes. The handling is amazing, and it's a lot of fun to drive out there.
World Racing League ranges from anything from Miatas being on track to all the way up to like GT4 or TCR cars, obviously in different categories. But at the same time, it introduces a lot of concept that you'll only see in pro racing, like open pit stops, which are all things you start seeing in professional racing like SRO, IMSA, NASCAR, even Formula One.
Endurance racing in a production vehicle, you're not really pushed physically, but your brain is stretched like so thin.
Like there's strategy to it. It's not necessarily just about every single position. It's about how can you sort of maximize your fuel over the long run.
You have to have the mindset about bringing the car back in one piece, saving fuel. It adds a lot of complexity.
After all that work, all that effort, all that sacrifice to finally be there at COTA, wow. The feeling of first off just being in pit lane, surrounded by the grandstand, the main building, and watching the rise for turn one.
What I really find challenging about COTA, it has a lot of turns. It's a very long circuit, long straights with tight hairpins, a good mix of really technical sections.
I've always wanted to drive on a Formula One circuit. It's incredible. It's a lot of fun.
It's an amazing track. It's so much fun. Has a good mix of fast and slow corners and medium speed corners. It's fun and a challenge at the same time.
Smashing the throttle, going out towards turn one, going down the hill, taking turn two and going through the high-speed S's for the first time, clipping those curves, just feeling the car balanced, and the speed was just absolutely phenomenal. There are certain things that in racing that are an eventuality. Obviously, we never want them to happen, but you have to be prepared. One of our drivers was taking the turn at the end of the back straight, which is the highest section on track, going down to a very technical slow corner, and not to his fault at all. Another driver had a braking issue and ended up making contact with him at a very high rate of speed. The first thoughts were, you know, how is David? Luckily, he was on the radio with us. He sounded right, but there was no coverage from the stream to it, so it was hard to understand how big the impact was. But again, thoughts were on getting more information from David and seeing him again to see how he was doing.
So we know that this car got damaged in an impact. Here's the driver right now, and he's okay, thankfully.
I'm all right.
So we're good. But let's go on a journey of discovery to see what we see in the car. And I mean, if you look at this side, let's just back up for a second. Look at this side of the car. Beautiful on this side of the car. No problems over here whatsoever. The issue is on the other side of the car. So I believe what happened, I'm no rocket scientist, but I think there's an impact somewhere in this zone right here. So when it did that, It hit the wheel pretty good, and you can see where there's bits of the other car still stuck in it, broken wheel there. The door is still functional, which is nice because it would be way worse if the impact was here. Because it would suck if there was an impact right there, because right now, that's a pretty pristine door. I'm no expert, but I believe that is no bueno, so this wheel is garbage as well. The good thing is though, like, driver in there, I mean, you're fine, right? Like, you're good.
Yeah, I have a slight bruise on my ankle, my adrenaline is worn off, so I'm definitely all right.
It was great to see that David was fine and walking around, but it was even greater to be able to put him back in another car and racing later that day. I had my self-fulfillment of my dream, and that was an amazing moment. I was, taking a minute to go and talk to the individual drivers and seeing how their weekends were going.
Every Apex event I've been to, whether it's a track day or a race event, there really is good camaraderie and good teamwork. Watching each other's lap times, getting on the radio with people, and just kind of talking about, how did your sync go, how did your sync go, giving tips to each other, getting feedback. It's a lot of fun.
Circuit of the Americas, F1 Grand Prix circuit. I mean, just the facilities themselves are sort of intimidating, not to mention the 22-quarter track that's sitting out there waiting for me.
I already felt like I was part of the team on my very first day, which it's amazing to come into a program like this not knowing anybody. I was planning on going on a vacation, but why would you go to like a beach to drink margaritas when you can come to Texas, race a car, and still drink margaritas?
Apex V2R allows me to do what I wouldn't do. I don't have a place to park, a tow vehicle and a trailer. So to do this with a team that makes all that easy is really what allows me to do this. And then the reason I work with this team versus alternatives is integration. That it's not, we do this event, cool, see you in 2 months. It's, we do this event, okay, we're prepping for the next one. Okay, let's do something in a sim. That kind of continuity has been really attractive to me.
So Apex V2R, working with them is absolutely outstanding. If you get the chance to, you definitely should. They gave me my first chance to hop in a car and go out for a track day. Without them, I wouldn't be sitting here today having all the experience that I have in a car. So it's really rewarding to be racing with them yet again.
Next for Apex V2R for 2023 is going to be gearing up for another amazing racing season. For sure, we are on board with doing more events with WRL. We want to start training a couple of new drivers, so we're going to be doing some Lucky Dog events here in Canada. On top of that, we want to see more of our current fleet racing. Be ready to see our Cayman race car starting to hit the grid, maybe even the Radicals. Definitely more testing with that, but we definitely want to have more cars on track, more often, more races, more podiums.